Conversations with Iris. Here's your host, my loving wife, Iris.
Hello, what's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to Conversations with Iris, where purpose meets personality, and every story just adds a little bit of flavor to that table, some of that sabor. So Latinos say sabor, say it with that R. Before we get into today's episode, I gotta show some love and support. Some love is due. First, I want to give a big shout out to our brother podcast company over here, the Short Desk Podcast. Of course, hubby and the boys, my brothers, they paved the way for for Iris, or Conversations with Iris, to come to fruition. So you already know it's all love and family vibes over here. And listen, I've been feeling the support pouring lately. So let me just take a quick moment to thank you guys. Sincerely, thank you for tuning in, downloading, and sharing this show. I just want to send some special love to Westport, Connecticut, Chicago, Illinois, Brooklyn, New York. Woo woo, my Brooklyn peeps. Tulsa, Arizona. I hope I said that correctly. And all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Y'all already show out and I see you. Thank you for riding with me and sticking in here. So thank you for the love. So today's episode is about more than just food. I just want to emphasize it's more than that. It's about freedom. It's about what happens when life just challenges you and challenges your identity, but you still find a way to serve like the purpose. Basically on your plate with a whole bunch of love. So we're diving into the kitchen, but not just any kind of kitchen. We're stepping into a space where vision loss doesn't mean giving up on your passions. It means finding a new way to live them out loud. Why not, right? This wonderful person that we are going to be interviewing is a wonderfully executive chef who is legally blind. Yes, you guys heard that, legally blind, but that doesn't stop her from doing all the wonderful work that she's been doing. She is the founder of The Blind Kitchen, a motivational speaker, a culinary school graduate, and someone who teaches thousands how to cook safely and confident with vision loss. With heartfelt recipes, she's built a place where everyone has a seat at the table. So, without further ado, I am so thrilled to introduce this wonderful woman behind the apron, Chef Debra Erickson. Erickson, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. After that lovely introduction, I may never leave.
Oh, well, I'm glad. Well, your story is so remarkable and you just do great things, and I just love the recipes that you have. Like, I can't wait to try to make these.
Oh, nice, nice. I have fun creating them.
Oh my God. So now, before we deep dive into your story, I have to ask, what's that one kitchen sound that makes you feel like totally at home?
Totally what?
Like that kitchen sound that makes you feel like totally at home. Like for me, it's the sound of onions and seasoning hitting a sound of like a hot skillet. It's just instant joy. I don't know. That just gets me all excited about cooking. What's that sound that gets you all happy in the kitchen?
Uh, Things sizzling, cooking, coming together. It's a very nice feeling of accomplishment and peacefulness that, something incredibly good is happening.
Oh my God. How about smell? What's your favorite smell? Like mine, it's like the smell of onions on your fingertips, garlic. I love lemons. How about that? What's your favorite smell when you get in there and cook?
Boy, all of those, but probably my most favorite is basil. I have a basil plant, a live one, and I just rub my fingers on the leaves and the oil, and I just smell my fingers then for
Oh
a
my
couple
God.
hours.
Yes, basil just has that like flavor, that just burst of energy, and it just smells so good. I always like to ask, especially a fellow chef person, like, hey, what is the thing that gets you all hyped in the kitchen? So Deborah, your story is just in general incredible. I love it. And I want to definitely pull the apron apart and just start from the beginning and let our listeners know, how did you get started? And I want to delve into you being legally blind, and when did that start? And when did you decided to take that initiative to start this beautiful culinary love language, as you say?
Well, I was not always blind. I wasn't born blind, and I wasn't actually diagnosed until I was 28. But there were signs of it in the records when I was 17 in my medical records that I had my peripheral vision was not as it should be. But in my early 50s, I actually, so I have retinitis pigmentosa, and it's a degenerative disease. So over time, I've been losing it. And I finally lost the majority of any ability to see in my early 50s. So now I only have a very limited amount of vision in one eye only, and it's mostly just light perception. If the lighting is perfect, sometimes I can see clouds passing by, and those generally not clouds, but like my husband passing by in front of a light. I don't see clouds anymore, but and most of the time that scares me more because I'm not expecting to
Oh,
be able to see it. So, um, and I taught adults for most of my life.
okay.
And so when I was taking my classes at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, I wanted to go back to work and I wanted to teach, but I wasn't sure what. And so I was in a class taking a meal prep with my instructor, then instructor, now my dear friend, and a light bulb went on and it says I could teach cooking to visually impaired adults. That would be fun. And then the light bulb went off because I was like, you don't really know how to cook, Deb. You just,
You
I mean,
didn't.
I,
You didn't.
no, I
Wow.
really didn't. When I raised two boys, and my youngest son is 6'5", so I must have fed them right once or twice. But it was mostly cans and boxes. I just read directions. I'm one of 12 children, so seven daughters. Mom didn't have a whole lot of time to have in front of the stove with each of us, and I could have cared less because I was a tomboy, and that's the last place I wanted to be was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Um, and so I did started to try and put together what if I were to teach cooking, how would that go? And I realized how complex a subject teaching cooking is because it covers from getting your ingredients, accessing and reading recipes, all the whole gamut, setting a table, identifying food in closed containers and it's with vision loss. And so I thought, well, the best way to learn how to teach cooking is to go to cooking school. So I was the first and only blind student so far to graduate from the culinary school I went to in Vancouver, Washington. And and that's where the blind kitchen ended up coming from. I wanted to share that information with other people with vision loss that they could indeed cook safely and also portion attractively. There's so many things out there that can help people with vision loss, and I wanted to find a way to share it, and that's how the blind kitchen came to be.
Oh, wow. And that's phenomenal to know. So it's like you know how sometimes you hear people say, well, I was born to cook, I was born to be a chef. But like you mentioned, you were not into cooking till much later. Like you found that purpose. Isn't that amazing how that works out? Like,
It is amazing.
like, do you feel like losing your vision just, just impacted you? And was that movement you realized that you could just still speak, this kitchen like love language just in the same way?
Yeah, like you said, you're born. A lot of us have a passion, and mine was always teaching, and it didn't connect it up with cooking until I was receiving my training. And so now I love to cook. I can't believe I spent so many years not doing it. Um, but I think when you lose one sense, my hearing didn't get any better, or my smelling didn't get any better, but my dependence on them became more intense. So now I'm always smelling things. I'm always listening to hear what's happening in that pan. So I think vision loss definitely has helped me to become a better cook than I probably would have been, even if I had discovered the passion earlier, being able to see, because it makes me a different kind of cook than other chefs.
Oh, I bet. And let me ask you, when you were noticing the changes with the vision, right? And how did your husband and your family react to that?
Yeah, it's a constant evolution. My husband, this is my second husband, and my first husband married me and I hadn't been diagnosed. I had no clue I had a problem. And that marriage didn't survive. But my second husband married me knowing that I would probably lose my vision. I think probably both of us were in some type of a denial that maybe it wouldn't happen because it goes quite slowly until it, gets off that last, for me, that last precipice when it dropped off. But he's never batted an eye. He's just been kind and gentle if I need a ride somewhere. And he's retired. He's a railroad engineer and has retired. And even though I started this business later, he supports me 100%. If I need to be driven somewhere, if I need him to run to the store and pick up groceries for a photo shoot that we're doing or something, he's just, I'm really blessed to have him. I'm very lucky that he's my partner because I couldn't have picked anyone that would be more supportive.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. And let me ask you, does he cook also in the kitchen?
Oh no.
No.
He can pour a bowl of cereal and pour a glass of juice, and that's about the extent of his culinary efforts.
I'll tell you what, I also am a fellow cook over here and I love cooking. I really do. But my problem is I'm just lazy. I really am. I'm just lazy to like, oh, I'll just order takeout to have it the easier way, right? And it's funny because during holiday times, my husband and I have like cooking competitions because I feel like the family loves his food more than mine, so I get a little jealous there. So I'm assuming for holidays you are the designated cook. Is that so?
Well, actually, we tend to go to our relatives' homes, and I can't cook in a strange kitchen. I have to have my stuff marked and identified and stuff like that. So I prepare dishes as I'm requested to bring to these events, they're not held at my house. I've got actually I live on a floating home in Portland, Oregon, and so it's got a small galley kitchen. My husband and I can hardly fit in it at the same time.
Oh,
And don't
wow.
even try and open the refrigerator when we're both in there. So it's the blind kitchen that you see on the YouTube channel and the website is actually a professional studio. And I wish that was my kitchen.
Oh, wow. A lot of times, a lot of those kitchens, they just look like very like a dream, right? You're like, man, I wonder if that's their legit kitchen. Somebody like me who grew up watching Paula Deen, right? Like, I loved Paula Deen every time she came on. But I think we found out many years later, it's like, that was not her real kitchen. So I was like, what?
Right. So another thing behind the scenes here I'll share with you is that kitchen is made for camera angles and lights. So it is not very functional. We have to do it with duct tape and glue so that there's no platform near the stovetop. So we have to move our counters on wheels and we move it close when I'm cooking on the stovetop for the shots. But it's it's a really not a it's not meant for practicality. It's meant for photographing and filming.
Interesting. And let me ask you, and just diving a little bit deeper into the blind kitchen, like I am curious, can you tell our listeners how does that setup look? And like, let's say, for example, you already have the recipe that you're gonna be teaching, like, that day, but how does that look behind the scenes? And you had mentioned something very important that you don't feel comfortable or wouldn't feel comfortable cooking in somebody else's, kitchen because you're not familiar with it, right? So how does that look behind the scenes?
So we've I've been filming there for more than 3 years now. So now I'm familiar with it, but it took some time. So the way it works is there are 5 cameras, and I know at what, there's a 12 o'clock camera, a 2 o'clock camera, a 10 o'clock. So he tells me which one to look at. And they also have a very bright light that if I'm not looking in the right direction, he'll bring out that light and I have to look at it. I hate it because it hurts my eyes.
Oh, so
but,
you
but
feel that sting in your eyes, huh?
Oh yeah, but we want a quality product for sure. So you do what you have to do, and so I stand at a counter at in that kitchen where I'm facing those cameras and the recording studio. So there's a counter in front of me. To my right is a 6 burner stove, and it's got double ovens. And then to the left of me, there's another counter, and behind me is the sink and at 5 o'clock is the refrigerator. So I've memorized it now, and I've got bump dots, little tactile markers on the control panels for the kitchen area, so that when I'm turning the stove on, I can know if it's at 350, 325, 400. It's all marked so that I can do that independently.
Wow, wow. And like, how about the recipes, like the planning behind that? How does that look? And like, do you like, are these recipes that you grew up with, or you just basically tailored by trial and error? How does that look for you?
So when I go to do a recipe, first of all, I kind of look what's trending, because that's like, it's summer right now. Fruits and vegetables are huge.
Okay, yeah.
And so then I try to go with what's trending so that I'm marketing to the right people. And then I will access either through my iPhone or my computer, which is all done with screen readers. It reads to me the information on the screen. I don't read it with my eyes. And I'll look at like 6, 7, 8 versions of the same recipe where it's just a little bit of a difference. And
Okay.
then, so I find out what they have in common. And then I find out, then I add my own touches. And I'll give you an example of that. So I just recently did a show called Double Tap, and the two hosts are in England, and they're blind, and they do accessible technology for the blind. And so they're very smart, and they're very joyful, their interactions back and forth. So we they wanted me to be on their show, but they wanted me to be in the blind kitchen. And so I cooked them an English breakfast, a traditional blind friendly English breakfast. And so what I did was listened to all kinds of not podcasts, but videos and YouTubes, and they had some things in common. Like, it was baked beans and tomato juice. There would be a fried egg. There would be fried toast, literally fried toast in the pan.
Mm.
There would be sausages, and there would also be bacon back, which is more like a slab of ham than bacon, but it's definitely got more of a bacon taste to it, but it's got a fat cap. So I was able to get those from the specialty stores. And then I just added my own touches to it and used the tools. So what the Blind Kitchen does, the bread and butter of the Blind Kitchen, is that we sell accessible cooking tools like talking thermometers, talking scales, egg rings, which are how I'm able to flip an egg successfully in a pan without burning myself and without being able to see it, and without making a mess. And so that's the way I usually do them. And on my videos, I'm often demonstrating how to use the tool, and the recipes are much more rare. I have them written on my website in a blind friendly teaching style, but to actually cook live on camera, I've done it several times, and I certainly can do it. It's tricky though when you're doing filming, and because you never know when the water's going to boil and you're on a schedule.
Oh, I bet. And that's so cool. So these tools actually talk to other fellow blind individuals out there. And overall, I mean, you build this incredible toolbox for, blind individuals with, that, from like, I'm looking right now, heat gloves to talking thermometers. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah,
And I mean, if someone was listening and just getting started, what's that one kitchen item from the blind kitchen that you would just tell them to grab first, and why?
I would there would actually be 2. One is work trays, and what they are is like basic cafeteria trays that you see in a school or in a hospital, and they just have raised size. They're indestructible because they're made out of that
Hmm.
hard plastic, but ours are bigger. And I use that for a cutting board. I use that for measuring. I use that to mix over, because everybody spills. But
Yeah.
it's no fun if I'm like measuring a wet ingredient and now it's running across my counter and down my cabinets onto the floor. I'm going to have to stop and clean up, and that's no fun. So, what these do is they serve as a way for me to have my tools, my food, my ingredients all in a predictable location. They're, and contained by those slightly raised sides. So if I'm cutting a carrot or something like that, and it starts to roll across, if I'm using a wooden cutting board, or I'm maybe chopping up some type of fresh
Yeah.
herb or something, it's going to fall off the edges of it. It did when I could see. These are tools, and the other thing I'd say is I have talked many people who can see perfectly well into the value of using these things, because everybody spills. And then the other
Oh,
thing is
yeah.
if you accidentally knock something over, chances are, depending on where you're at in the recipe, that you can actually recover that ingredient by using a funnel to get it back in the original container, wet or dry. So the work trays are really high profile. And then the other one is a cut glove. And what it is, it's a relatively thin glove. It has 4 fingers and a thumb, and you put it on the hand holding the food. The hand holding the knife is relatively safe. You've got your fingers around the handle, you're pinching the spine of the at the back of the knife. And so those fingers aren't in danger. It's the hand holding the food. So let's say I'm doing that carrot that I was talking about. I'm going to do it on a work tray. I don't even, it dulls the knife, sure, but I sharpen it. No big deal. It's worth it. So I'm cutting, I'm cutting, I'm cutting. If all of a sudden I feel pressure or movement from the knife blade against my fingers, I'm just going to stop. I didn't expect to feel it. I didn't realize I was so close. But if I had not been wearing that glove, my skin would have been cut by the time my brain got the message the contact had been made. I wouldn't have time to stop. And it works the same way with grating. Like if I'm grating cheese, I don't know of anyone that hasn't left knuckle skin in their food. So with
Yeah.
this with this glove, it's the same thing. If I'm on the grater, and all of a sudden I feel contact when I don't expect to, I'll just stop, and I won't have been hurt, and no human contaminants in my recipe.
I
So they're
love
really
that.
good. Again, and both of those are not meant for blind or visually impaired, but they are tools that really lend themselves.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal. And I mean, when did that inspire you? Like, when did that happen that you were like, you know what? I'm going to just start. Okay, I got the blind kitchen up and running, and then I'm going to start making all these wonderful tools. When did that come about? Like, when did you just thought about that? Because I mean, this sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, so the tools came first. So when I first lost my vision and went to culinary school, I had only intended to come back to the Oregon Commission for the Blind as an instructor of adult Oregonians that were legally blind. And I graduated in June of 2019 and then worked there. And in March of 2020, COVID hit. So I
Oh,
was sent home for a year and a half because people didn't know how to was it safe to be in person teaching, and teaching remotely seemed impossible at the time. So I had a year and a half to start gathering all these tools that I had used to get through culinary school and organize them. And there's almost 100 now. And so that's how the blind kitchen started. I thought, I want to teach people. So if I can't teach in person, then I will see what about starting this business where I could make videos and people could learn how to what the work tray was, why it's blind friendly, and how to use and care for it. And that's all the videos have those options. And if you were to buy like the cut glove and it came to you in the mail, it's marked both in large print and braille. So we've got all of the tools, and that's where the blind kitchen started, and we're expanding out to actually doing the cooking and stuff like that. But it was not even a thought in my head after I finished culinary school, but it's ended up being pretty effective at reaching this population. And the other thing I want to say is there are a lot of people out there that don't identify as blind or visually impaired. And I'm talking about people like you say, oh, grandma's hearing's not as good as it used to be, or grandpa's eyes aren't as good. You have to talk a little louder or whatever. And so these help those people as well. It just, you don't have to be blind or visually impaired. If you're grilling outside at night and you need to take the temperature of the food, 4th of July, whatever,
yeah.
a thermometer that talks to you when you press the button, that's going to be helpful to anybody. Because even if you have low lighting or lower vision, that means you're going to have to get your eyes right up next to that display. And now your nose is near it, your mouth, your hair, your face is near hot food. Just not good all the way around. But if you can hold it at arm's length, put the probe in the food and press the button, that's going to help anybody.
Thank you so much for that. And that sounds phenomenal too. And Deborah, you said before that cooking doesn't begin or end in the kitchen, and that part really just stuck to me. What does that mean to you, or how does that mindset help someone who may feel overwhelmed by just vision loss and all the steps around meal prep?
Cooking is a complicated thing.
Mhm.
It's definitely a skill, and you just don't stand in front of a stove and put a pan on the stove and start dumping food in there. You've got to be able to get the ingredients. You have to be able to access and read recipes. You have to be able to go to do shopping. You have to be able to identify things in closed containers or to label containers so that you'll know what they are. You have to be able to organize your refrigerator, kitchen, and pantry. You have to be able to, uh, it just goes over more different kinds of cooking methods have different types of tools, whether you can see or not. So the tools that we sell are the bread and butter of the blind kitchen, but the heart of the blind kitchen is the Blind Kitchen Library, where we have hundreds of posts and blogs and videos that attend to different parts of the cooking process. So one of the things I'm often asked in presentations and workshops is
Mhm.
how do you center a hot pan on the top of your stove if you can't see, especially a glass top stove.
Oh,
And
wow.
so when I get how do you ground meat if you can't see it? How do you flip an egg safely if you can't see it and that egg is going to try and slide across the pan? You can't have it sticking to the bottom. That's not going to work. It's got to be on a fat layer. So the videos and blogs that I have written often are inspired by people with vision loss who ask me questions on how to do something.
Wow. And I'm looking at your website right now and I just saw it before, and you do have tons of video. Please, audience members, please look into all these wonderful videos and stuff. And oh my God, this is just awesome. And let me ask you, Deborah, like when it comes to you had mentioned the flat stove top, right?
Hmm.
And just dialing, like how do you like when you're, let's say you're cooking an egg, and how do you determine that dial, like which one goes to five, which one goes to high? And have you, I know this is a silly question, but have you been burned before because of trial and error? Just curious.
Well, just like any cook, it is very much trial and error, but there are services out there. One's called Be My Eyes, and it's free. And people with vision loss actually dial, and a volunteer picks up in your language, whichever one you have selected in your settings, and they can look through my phone camera and help me. So my husband can see as well. So if I'm setting up a stove for the first time, I'm going to put tactile markers. Most dials come to a point, and then I'm going to put it at 300, 350, and 400. So I'll know where 325 is. It's going to be in between those two, and I'll know where 450 is because it's going to be way past the last one. But when you come to things like flat screen microwaves, and a lot of things are controlled, somebody thought that was a great idea to make it flat screen, no tactile information at all. But
Yeah.
it is technology now. And so sometimes it can be a pain, but sometimes it's just such a gift, mostly a gift. So I actually control my convection oven, my air fryer, and my microwave using my smart speaker and my voice. And
Oh,
I can
wow.
be across the room and say, Echo, preheat the smart oven to 400 degrees. She'll repeat it back to me, and then I hear it click on. And then I'm given another audible sound when it reaches that temperature. Or I can say, Echo, what's the temperature of the smart oven? And it'll tell me where it's at right at that moment. Technology is amazing
That
for
is
vision impairment.
phenomenal. Oh my
Hmm.
God, that is so phenomenal. And how about like microwaves? You mentioned like all these buttons that it has. That's just crazy. Like, how did you like, you mentioned a flat microwave that you mentioned? I'm not sure if I heard that correctly. How does that work?
Okay, so there's different things like the voice control where I can just tell my
Mhm.
microwave to defrost for 10 minutes at 10% and it'll do it. Um, but there's other different types of tactile labels out there. Microsoft has some, and also there's a company called Halos, and it's actually their halos are made out of foam, and they are adhesive on one side, but they're tactily, they can point, it can be an arrow, it's an arrow. So it can point up, down. If I want to increase time, I can put it on the increase. I need help at first, the first time putting them on. But they have some that have less than. So if I want to lower, they have some that are shaped like pieces of popcorn. They're flat, but they're foam or shaped like pizza. So you just determine nobody uses all their buttons on their microwave.
Yeah.
They're just, but you decide exactly, but you decide what's important to you. Like do I like microwave popcorn? Okay, I want a marker on that one. If you put a marker on all of them, you don't, then they're all the same again. It doesn't help.
Yeah, that
But
is
you can,
very true.
yeah, but you can put like just a small tactile dot like on the number 5 and the number 8. And then I'll know all of the buttons around them. I'll know how far apart they are because I know that the 7 is going to be between the 5 and the 8. I think I'm saying that right. But yeah, I'll just know that it's going to be in between without a marker. And I'll know the button to the left of the 2 that's marked is 1, and the one to the right is 3. So you don't need a dot or a tactile marker on every button to be able to control. Two dots will be able to control like 12 buttons for me.
And look at that. That's wonderful to know, Deborah. And I do have to add this on here regarding. I saw a picture of you cooking with blind Barbie. I freaking loved it. I love it because you know why? You got this beautiful way of cooking, and it just feels fun and so approachable and empowering. Like just it just gives you that power. And I have to ask before we go here, what role does creativity play in the kitchen, in your kitchen? And how can it help someone rediscover their love for cooking again?
Yeah, so some people don't like to cook. Then don't
Yeah,
cook. Do something different, you know.
yeah.
But creativity plays a huge part because about 90% of the tools, like the cut glove and the work tray, are not meant for the blind or visually impaired. But I had to, in solving problems, and I learned stuff from other people too. I didn't make all of this stuff up, but I brought it together in one organized place. And I mean, cooking is a creative process in itself. Like, what kind of herb am I going to use? Do I want it creamier?
Mhm.
Do I want it thinner? You know, what kind of texture? So, part of the things for creativity in the blind kitchen are number one, if I was going to have my vision taken from me, I feel like I should have been given an extra hand because I never
Mhm.
have enough hands. I need one to work, one to see for me, and two to work for me. So a lot of the tools are around that concept. How can we free up our hands? So one of them is a bag holder, like a Ziploc bag holder. And it's just a little disc that is sets on the counter, but it's got like two rabbit ears that form a V that come out of the bottom of it. And above each of those ears on the inside, there's a clip. And so I can open up a Ziploc bag, either quart size or gallon size, and slide the zipper part under each of it. Now it's being held open, and my hands are now free again because that bag holder is holding it. And now I can use one hand to see for me and another one to put the food in there. That cheese I've grated without bleeding into it. That's another. So the tools are like that, or long wooden handles.
Mhm.
Being messy is a thing. So if you use a
It really
long
is.
Oh, yep. If you use a long handled wooden spoon or utensil, we have a long handled spider, we have a long handled tongs. I can leave them in the pan. Wood doesn't conduct heat, and if it's really long, and ours are 17 inches, then they can't fall down in the pot. If you've ever had a, a steel utensil fall down underneath a thing of marinara sauce or something, it's dangerous and it's
Oh
hard to
yeah.
get it out. But if the
Oh, it's
spoon
hot.
can't fall, yes, but if the spoon can't fall down to begin with, that's perfect. And I'm not going to make a mess moving it to and from the spoon rest because I can just leave it in the darn pan. I don't have to worry about it.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And these I gotta get my hands on one of these pans. I think I'm gonna have to buy some for myself too. But overall, Deborah, I mean, your journey is nothing short but just inspiring. Like you've inspired me. Like I feel like cooking right now. I don't know. I don't know why. But you taken, your personal experience and just built something that just empowers thousands to return to the kitchen, not with fear, but with that fire, like I mentioned, sabor, that flavor. And
Hmm.
before we close out, can you tell our listeners where they could find you, shop the Blind Kitchen, and even get their hands on these wonderful tools and recipes and all these wonderful videos?
Sure, food is universal, so you don't have to be blind or visually impaired. Our website is theblindkitchen.com, and it's very easy to navigate. No pop-up ads or anything like that. I don't have any affiliates. Just you go through the website. But if you want to write to me, I'm at info@theblindkitchen.com, and I monitor that mailbox and take care of that. Now, I have a social media presence, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, but in all honesty, I don't do that. I pay people to do that for me because I want to cook and teach. Could I learn to do it? Do other people with vision loss do it? Absolutely. It's just that's not where I want to put my time and energy. And so we do have the Blind Kitchen has a presence on all of those platforms.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And before we go, I keep saying that. I said this is like the third time I said, tell me what is a quote that you would like to share with our audience members?
This one isn't going to bring tears to your eyes, but I hope it makes you laugh. So, Julia Childs said, if food comes to you and it's wonderful and a beautiful presentation with height and swirls and it's just a piece of art, she says, then you know for sure someone's fingers have been all over it.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. So much for joining us, Erica. Thank you so much, Deborah. This is amazing. And to our listeners, there you have it, folks. Chef Debra Erickson reminds us that cooking is just not just about knives or ovens. It's about love, creativity, and showing up for ourselves and our people. So if vision loss has taken you out of the kitchen, this is your official invitation back. Let's invite them back. So thank you so much, Deborah, for showing us that the recipe for independence starts with that just little courage, right? A few tools and a whole lot of love and heart. So until the next time, guys, I'm Iris, and this has been Conversations with Iris. Stay bold, stay grounded, and stay full. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am.